Hey, and so today we're looking at Rust and learning some of the basics. So to get started, we can download this executable file for Windows, or if you're using a different system, you can look at other installation methods. And it gives you a whole list of instructions on how to get started. So once you have that downloaded, and as well, if you're not able to download it right now, there is this try Rust without installing. So you could follow along using this. So once you've downloaded it, we can do Rust C version. And it shows which version we have installed and that it's successfully installed. So we have 1.39, you'll probably have a newer version. You might want to also check if you have cargo installed. Cargo is basically the build system for Rust. So like npm or pip in other languages. So we have that installed as well. Great. Now there's a couple of different ways you can compile files in Rust. Let's create a file with a main function in it. So we're doing public, which is pub fn for function, and we're just going to do main like you have in other languages. And then we're going to do print line. So print line is a macro in Rust. I'll explain a little bit more about that later. And we can do hello guys. And now we put that into a Rust file. We're going to call the Rust file, let's see, hello guys.rs. .rs is the extension for Rust files. And now we can run that, or sorry, we can compile that if we just do rust c hello guys. Oh, hello guys.rs. There we go. So we can run hello guys. And there we go. Prints out hello guys. So you can do that as many times as you like. Oh, hello guys. It's an executable. It works perfect. And it's quick and easy. Now things get bigger and complicated as your project grows, and that's why we have cargo. So we could create a whole new project with cargo. So we can do cargo init my project, and it'll create the binary package, and then we can cd what did we call it, my project. And there we go, we have my project created. We can have a look. So if you have a look here, we can see. And it's created everything that we need for us. So the .git is here, the source file. We have this cargo.toml, which is where you would bring in your dependencies and so on. So in here you would have your package, this kind of default metadata, and then your dependencies would go in here. So you know, any sort of external library or framework you wanted to use. But what we want to look at is the source file. This is where you would put all your Rust files. So you have your main in here. By default, it creates a main. And then if we open up the main, we can see it's fn main and then it prints line hello world. So what we can do in here with cargo, is simply, instead of compiling all the files that we might create for a project, you can just do cargo run in the project folder, and it will build it and then run it for us. And there you go, hello world. Now for this tutorial, I'm going to be using a IDE. So I'm going to be using Intellij. I think it's one of the best IDEs, and it has a plugin for Rust. You can also use VS Code. VS Code is quite good. Atom is just quick and easy. It's nice and small, and Vim as well. But anyways, I'm going to be using Intellij. The only downside to Intellij is to get the debugger working in Rust, you need to use the ultimate version of Intellij, but for most intents and purposes, the standard free version of Intellij will do just fine. So when you're in Intellij, you just go to settings, And in here you go to plugins, and you're going to want to Google search for Rust, and there you go, just install this plugin and it'll set up everything for you as well. Another useful one to have is the Toml plugin. Now after you've done this, we can just do a new project, and we won't have to do cargo init. So Intellij will take care of that for us. Well, that's why I like to use it. So it'll tell us the toolchain we're using, toolchain location, make sure you have that set up correctly. Standard library, we want it to be a binary application. So we're going to name our project first project. And this is where it's going to be located. Actually, I don't want it there. I'm just going to put it into documents for now. Open that in a new window. So as you can see, it's created the same that you would get from the cargo init for us. You have your cargo toml. And then it shows you your external libraries, which is quite handy. So you can see here our standard library is here. But you could have other libraries that you might have pulled in, and it'll show you them all here as well. So now if we wanted to compile this and just see if we got any errors, we click on the terminal button down here and just type in cargo build if we don't want to actually run it. And that will build it for us. If we did want to run it, we just do cargo run. You can also click here. Intellij has this little cargo thing at the side, and you can use this as well to do something similar, but I like to use the terminal. It's just what I'm used to. So let's get rid of this hello world. So let's talk about variables in Rust. So to declare a variable, you just do let x equal 5, for example, and you semicolon at the end. Now you can see it's already brought up this I32, so it's inferred the type, so it knows it's an integer. So Rust will infer the type where it can, but sometimes that's not possible. So if we were to do something like let y equal vec is a vector basically, and make it a new vector, it actually won't know the type here. So you can see the question mark there. And this won't build because it doesn't know what's in here. It doesn't know what type is in there. It can't decide that. So if we did cargo build down here, we'll get this error, cannot infer type for t. To fix this, we can actually just do something like y dot push x. What that will do is it'll add the integer value x to y, and now it can infer that it's a vector of I32 of integers. So now if we build it, it should work, no problem. So actually, we've run into this issue, and that's what I wanted to bring up next, is that it cannot borrow as mutable. So Rust, by default, makes things immutable. So you can't change their values, add or subtract from what it is. So to fix that, you simply do let mut for mutable y equal vec mu. So now y is mutable, so we're able to push x into it, and that should solve that problem. And the reason Rust does this is because it likes to enforce safety wherever possible. So if you didn't have this, then you could end up with a situation where you're going back and trying to figure out, oh, why is this value this, and why was this changed, and it just prevents a lot of confusion. So now we can see that it compiled, and we could run it, but it won't actually print anything. So why don't we print something? So we do this println, and println is a macro in Rust, and we can have a look if we click on it here. So if you control and click on it, you can go and see, and it creates this macro which basically formats things for printing. So what we're going to print is our y value, our y value. And then we're going to do these brackets, y. Compile that again. So now we've run into this issue of you cannot format with the default formatter Y because it doesn't implement display. So what's happening here is basically, if you're not familiar with a language like C, so basically these brackets are basically you're calling you're implementing the display, and then you put your comma here and then the value you actually want to display. So Y in this case. However, Y isn't implementing display, but it does implement debug. And to be honest, I advise people to use debug rather than display for when they're testing things and they're trying to print them out. So to use debug, we just do a :?, and now we build, and now we can run. Actually, we could have just ran straight away, but anyways. And now we can see our Y value, and then it prints out the Y value, which is an array with just 5 in it. So what you might be able to tell so far is that the compiler actually helps us with a lot of the errors that we're getting. We'll leave it there as a basic introduction, but to practice, why don't you try adding 2 values together and subtracting one, and then trying to print them out just to get used to the language. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, and I will be posting another one of these hopefully soon. Thanks.